Now, I'm one of those people who has a serious dislike of anything Apple. In my opinion, all Apple products are overpriced. You cannot repair anything, and that really annoys me. The fact that if you buy something that's not Apple and you want to integrate it with your Apple product, it will probably not work, so you have to buy something that's very expensive from Apple yet again. And also, I dislike the company because they steal ideas from other companies and then sell it as their own. I mean, Apple did not invent the mouse. Apple did not invent the graphic user interface. Speaking of graphic user interface, that's the only thing you pay for when you have Apple OS. The rest of the system is just an open source project called Darwin. You can look it up yourself. So, in my opinion, Apple only cares about making more and more money and promoting the I culture, the me culture. And the only thing they care about is making more money for their shareholders. So, with this rant finished, let's continue a bit further. So, when my favorite viewer, Rygar74NL, DM'd me and he said to me, "Why don't you review this amazing Apple product?" My first idea was, well, no, I'm not going to do that because, well, I'm not going to let Apple get its claws on me. But then I thought, well, I have to do it. I have to be sort of independent and have an open mind. I mean, a couple of years ago, I disliked USB sound cards a lot. And look at me now, my favorite my sound card is a USB one. And so with some hesitation left, this is going to be the very first Apple product that I've ever bought and the very first Apple product that I've made a review about. And here it is. Well, hello there everyone and welcome to a new video over here on Anton's Hardware channel. So, the very first Apple product that I've ever bought in my life, and here it is. It's the Apple USB-C to 3.5mm digital to analog converter. And it cost me only 10 euros. Now, normally when something costs me 10 euros, I just walk around it and not even bother looking at it. But this time, okay, I just had to buy it. Thanks, Rygar. So, just 10 euros. Let's take a closer look. The device itself is tiny. Now, if you place it next to a euro coin, you can see even how small it is. The cable is short and very thin, and it doesn't feel sturdy. Now, some people online even say it's fragile, and I agree. Popping it into your system for the very first time will install the device automatically. No drivers needed. Don't forget to change the bitrate and the frequency, because by default it will start in the lower sections. Also, it's only capable of 24 bits and 48 kHz. Now, what's on the inside of this device is a bit of a mystery. At first I thought it was just a pass-through cable and I couldn't believe that there is anything inside. But when preparing for this video, I found another video online where they cut it open and you can actually see a little chip inside. So there's actually a digital to analog converter in there. What kind of digital to analog converter is also a bit of a mystery because, as always, Apple doesn't release any data sheets or any other information. The website itself is very spartan in the details. Online I found some theories that inside there's an ALC6563 codec, which is supposed to be based on the ALC6528. But if that's true, I just don't know. Also, what I found online is that some people claim there's a Class D amplifier in there. But I'll get back to the debate a bit later on. I don't think there's an amplifier in there. Also, it's supposed to have a signal-to-noise ratio of 100 decibels, making it rather good. But this is all pure speculation. What happens in the IT field, especially the hardware field, is that they just buy a lot of chips and then rebrand it as their own. Asus did this with some C-Media chips, which they later rebranded as the AV100 and the AV200. But in fact, they were just simple C-Media chips. So with little to go on, here are the results from Rightmark Audio Analyzer. So when I did the testing for Rightmark Audio Analyzer, the first test results that came in were a bit shocking to me. So I tested again and again and again, and I did the tests eventually 5 times. And all those results were consistent, meaning that the test was correct. And just to show you what was shocking to me, here are the results. Overall, it got a good, with some very goods in the frequency response and the total harmonic distortion. Now, I was flabbergasted to see these results. Okay, there's a poor on there for the stereo crosstalk, but that was to be expected. Every tiny device is bound to have at least some crosstalk, just because the two channels cannot be separated or isolated from each other to not have EMI. The frequency response is amazing. I mean, the line is nearly completely flat. The only minor downside is the drop off just past 20 kHz, but I doubt that anyone will hear that. The total harmonic distortion in percentage is very impressive as well. These numbers can match cards that are 10 times the price of this one. Okay, this is going to be hard because I have to be objective, and we all know what my default position about Apple is. So I treated this test as if it was any other test. I did the same music, same headphone, same everything, listening for about an hour. That's the same thing I did with all other tests. The music that the digital to analog converter produced was really well. The highs were nice and crisp and well defined, well placed. The middles felt rounded and also very pleasant. The basses were a bit lagging behind, but I'll get back to the bit later on. The basses were a bit lagging behind and they missed a bit of oomph. The soundstage was a bit, well, crammed together, but that's all down to the stereo crosstalk. As for the basses, I doubt there's an amplifier in there because when I plugged it into my phone, it didn't have the power to drive the 32 ohm headset really well. I mean, it could go loud, but other digital to analog converters will go even louder. You don't want to hurt your ears or anything, but that was a thing that, well, that said to me there isn't really an amplifier in there. Overall, if I have to give this digital to analog converter a rating, I'd give it a good. Okay, a good minus because it's an Apple. Okay, before we get to the conclusion, there are 4 things that I'd like to point out. The first thing is the sampling frequency, which is just 48 kHz. I would like to have seen it that it's 96 kHz, but hey, it's just €10, so The other thing is that they could have made it a bit sturdier. I mean, it really feels flimsy, really fragile. They could have made something a bit better, but hey, it's Apple. If you break it, you'll buy another one. Third thing that I'd like to address is the stereo crosstalk. If they would have just made the stereo crosstalk or the isolation internally to eliminate a bit more EMI, oh, that would have been amazing. And the fourth thing that I'd like to point out is, but that's just an Apple thing as usual, and I would love to have seen the datasheet, but I don't think I'm the only reviewer that would have liked to have seen the datasheets. So do I recommend this little tiny digital to analog converter? And the answer is yes, I do. I mean, for €10, it's just amazing. Okay, I have 4 things that I'd like to have been addressed, but again, it's just €10, so there's no real headroom to explain. And for that €10, you will get great audio that's better than your onboard solution, better than the onboard solution in most phones you find these days. So, grudgingly, I have to admit that I recommend this Apple product. So, will I start using the Apple digital to analog converter for myself? No, for those who have been paying attention, it's in my collection with other sound cards. And not that it's that bad or that it's Apple, they're just other sound cards that are better. And with this ending, I would like to thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video. And I would like to see you in the next one. See you then, bye bye!